Hi friends, and welcome back to my studio. If you are new here, my name is Tammy Ernest and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. So a little bit of life update right here at the beginning. Grandbaby number 3 for this year was just born in the last couple days. He's doing absolutely wonderful. His name is Dallas, and he weighed in at 9 pounds, 13 ounces, 22 inches long, and a full head of dark hair. Just wonderful. So mama and baby and daddy are doing great, and so thrilled that he has made it and made it safely. And he was about a week early, and that was on purpose. They thought he was getting a little big, so they want to go ahead and induce labor. So everything went well, and we are super excited to have grandbaby number 3. That makes now 5 grandchildren, 4 boys and 1 girl. So I'm sure lots more will be in our future. And then Maggie's wedding is less than a month away. We're gearing up. You saw recently in my newsletter, I shared how we were making pie crusts because Maggie's reception, Maggie and Spencer, their reception will be pie and coffee. Spencer is from apple country up in Wisconsin and works at an apple orchard, so we're making apple pies, and then we're also making pumpkin pies because of our history in growing pumpkins and having a you-pick pumpkin patch here at our farm. And then Maggie also did a couple years working at a coffee shop, so we're going to have great coffee, homemade pies for the reception. So we're getting all those things together. Had her bridal shower this past weekend amongst the baby being born, and you know, we just pack it all in together. And so it's been a very full weekend getting things wrapped up for her. Just a few details, you know, those last minute details need to come together. I've ordered my dress, it's on its way, and Maggie's dress is being altered, and just finishing up plans for the reception and all those last minute things that need to come together. And then I'm looking forward to going to the Farm Girl Dry Goods retreat in just a couple weeks. That is a cross stitch retreat. I've not done a cross stitch video in quite some time, and that's basically because I have been so busy with quilting. I've not had much time to do cross stitch, but I'm super excited about going to the retreat. Now I've heard people say that you don't get much cross stitching done at the retreat. I'm gonna try to. I plan on visiting and meeting lots of new people, but I hope to get a lot of cross stitch done and just take a couple days away to do that. And so many exciting things. Once I get back from that, then our son Daniel will be home from college. He's coming home for a friend's wedding, going back to school, coming back the next weekend for Maggie's wedding. So we've got a whirlwind of a month coming up here, but I'm super excited. It's all wonderful stuff. I do want to share with you some personal sewing that I've done this week. This is the Hometown Holiday Sampler. This is a quilt along that's going on with the Fat Quarter Shop right now. I'm enjoying this. This is a lot of fun. So just a couple blocks to do each week. 4 or 5, I don't know. There's not too many each week. And so last week on my video, I showed you the Twinkle Holiday blocks, the star blocks. I had most of those done last week. I'm not going to re-show you those, but those are done. And then this week, I have worked on the Glitter Holiday Star blocks. Let me find those for you. Just a couple of these. I think there's only 2 of these, and these are fairly small. These finish at 4.5 inches square. Love the fabrics. I love the fabrics. So all the background print is the same on all the blocks that we're doing. Like I said a couple weeks ago, this was like 7.5 yards of background fabric. So have all of that. And once I starched it, then I rolled it up on a bolt cardboard piece that I had, and then I'm only pressing what I need and cutting those strips off, because sometimes you need 1.5 inch strips, sometimes 2.5 inch strips. So I'm just pressing it as I'm going instead of pressing that entire 7.5 yards of fabric. I just roll enough off of that bolt, press that, and then I trim or cut off what I need and then move on. So these are the Glitter Holiday Star blocks. There's 2 of those. Love this pink print as well. So cute. Then I also worked on the Cozy Holiday star block, and there are 2 of these. There's 1, and there is 2. Now with the starch, I am liking how much flatter my blocks are laying, and I like that. Lori's method of doing these half square triangles is a little different than you may be used to. Instead of creating the half square triangle blocks and then putting them into the block, she actually has you join, so this would be a full pink square. Or is that red? It's red. She has you join a full red square on each of these corners, put the entire block together, and then add the easy corner triangles after that. So this would be an entire red square, and the whole block would be together. So all of it would be that way. And then she has you lay this background square on top of that, sew your diagonal. I press mine back first, and then I trim off the extra behind there. So a little different. I do, it's a nice feature a nice alternative to do. You can only do that on blocks that are on piecing, half square triangles that are on the outside of your block, obviously. You wouldn't be able to do that on something on the inside. You'd have to go ahead and make that half square triangle block first. But anytime that it's on the corners like this, it's a good option, and I like it. I mean, it's a good alternative to do. I think it lies pretty flat, and you're not having to mess with sewing a half square triangle. I do think it seemed a little faster to do it that way, just adding that half square triangle, or sewing that half square triangle. I'm messing this all up. You layer that square on top after you have the whole block done. It did seem a little faster, and you just stitch it, press it back, and then cut away the extra. So there are 2 of those. I did get a minor little start on the next blocks, which are the Flicker Holiday Star blocks. And let me see if I can find one of those in here. Maybe too small for you to see, but like right there. That's one of the Flicker Holiday ones, and there are 3 of those. There are also no, these measure 6.5. My goodness, look at that. That block right there measures 6.5 inch square. That shows you how large those letters are going to be. So we'll go through all of the star blocks. Let me look at the directions real quick here. You'll go through all of the star blocks at the beginning. Then we do the holly berries and the house, the trees, and we don't do the letters until the very end. That's the very last thing prior to assembling the whole quilt is the letters. So we'll do all the other blocks first, all of the stars, all of the holly berries that you see in there, the house and the trees along the bottom. We'll do all of those blocks first before moving on to the letters. But that is super fun. I am enjoying this, and usually do this on my late night sewing on Friday night. My husband was gone for several nights over this past weekend. His mother had surgery, and he needed to spend some time with her. So I had about 4 nights that he was not here. I stayed up way too late every night. So it's a good thing that he came back and is back home, because I get to bed a little earlier. I tend to be a night owl, especially if I don't have him here with me to say it's time for bed. So it's good that he's back. I'm glad he's back. But I did get some sewing time in while he was gone, and I did enjoy that. Actually, a couple nights I did this kind of sewing, and then, you know, I just mentioned cross stitch a minute ago. A couple of the nights I would go on to bed, and everybody else was in bed as well. I mean, not everybody, there's only a couple of us in the house now anymore, but everybody was in bed, and I would take my cross stitch, and I would sit in bed and cross stitch for a while until I could not keep my eyes open, and then it was time for bed. So, but I did get some more sleep once he was home. So that's the personal sewing that I have done this week, and let's move on to some customer quilts. This quilt is Sara's, and it is a small baby quilt. 37 by 37 is the size of it. Love the primary colors of this. I don't have a pattern, but I think you can figure this out. And if I can get the pattern, I'll link it down below. But you just have a black and white strips in the middle of each block. Do you see that? And I think those would best be done if you just, instead of doing each one individual, I think if you join 2 long strips, one black and one white, and then subcut them. If you do a couple of different ones like that with some different fabrics, and then you could change them up in the pattern, and that'd be a super simple way to do it. And then she's just each block she's done in a different colorway. They are smaller rectangles, so you're getting 2 on the sides and then 2 larger ones. They're all the same size, but you have 2 on the sides and then 2 pieced together to create your longer one. And great stash buster. You can make this as large or as small as you want. No limitations there. You could add borders to it, but Sara hasn't. And love the black and white in the middle, and then just using all those scraps. They're all print, they're not solids, but it could work as solids as well. So absolutely darling. And the backing, I love this black and white backing that she puts on here. The alphabet, I think a baby would just love to lay on that and stare at that, and I think it'd be really cute. So the backing fabric is called A Touch of Bright. That's by Victoria Borges for Studio E, and if I can find that, I will link it for you. I want to show you the pantograph on this one. This one is a new one. It's called Bubble Flower. So similar to an orange peel, but much simpler. So if you're a new digital pantograph quilter and you're not ready to start orange peel, but you kind of like that look, this one works really well because it stitches out in a row. And maybe if I just, let me talk about it. Let me talk about it, and then I'll pull it in closer so that you can see. So this does stitch out in rows, and that that horizontal stitch is what is connecting the circle shapes. So it comes in, and I don't remember exactly how it stitches out, but basically you have 4 circles, 2 horizontal and 2 vertical, but in the intersection of those 4, it creates that orange peel design. And so then it stitches, I have it set to about 1 inch in between the next motif, and so about 1 inch of a straight stitch. You can see that straight line going all the way through the row, but then it goes in and it does the 4 circles overlapping, so you get that orange peel in the middle, and then it stitches the next row. So then it's offset by half, so that the circle of this one is fitting up into the negative space of the row above it and all the way down the quilt that way. So let me pull this in so you can see what I was talking about. So you can see the horizontal line and how that comes across, and then it stitches the 4 circles, and their intersection of the 4 circles is creating that orange peel design. And then it continues that straight line across. And then do you see how it nests up in between with the ones above and below it? You know what might be an interesting, let me try sometime, is even squishing these rows even farther together to see if this next row would intersect up into the row above it. Interesting. You might be able to do that and create almost a secondary effect there. I was talking with Mindy Powell of Quilting Together with Mindy. She does digital pantographs. She's one of my business buddies. She's also a Longarm quilter, but she programs digital designs. And we were talking about pantographs, how like this, where you offset it by a half so that the row above it nests up into it. And she said, but what she's also done is left them stacked on top of each other. Now this isn't her pattern, but it's another one that I was doing. where if you leave them on stacked on top of each other and kind of meet those points of the rows, then you get a whole different effect. So play around with the pantographs. You know, we get a picture in our mind that this is the way it is, and you know, in looking at this one, that's what I thought it was. But you could even leave this stacked on top of each other and get a different design that way. Or when you offset it by a half and shrinking that rows up, maybe you get an intersection with the row above and below. That might be a neat thing. So just because you get one pantograph doesn't mean that's the only thing you can do with it. You can do lots of different variations of that, and you play around with it. And I think the more pantographs you do, the longer you do it, you get more comfortable with venturing out on your own. I think it's the same thing with quilting. You know, when we first start out, we have to follow the pattern and we don't stray. And then the farther you're into your quilting journey, then you may make some adaptations to a quilt pattern or not use the called for fabrics. You know, you kind of expand on your own. And I think it'll be the same way with your digital pantograph journey as well. So Sara's quilt is so cute and just love it. I have two quilts by Susan, and this first one is a 44 by 44 inch quilt. This was a pattern in the October 2023 Sew Sampler box, and so the quilt itself is called Heart and Soul, and it uses Camille Roskelley's line Lighthearted. So when you get a Sew Sampler box, they always include a pattern that uses the pre-cut that they put in the box for that month. And so that month it was a charm pack of Lighthearted, and so pretty. Love the heart design. Can you see that? The heart design, all 5-inch squares, super simple. You could do this with any charm pack that you have, and unfortunately the quilt pattern is not available. It's only available if you are part of the Sew Sampler box. So you want to get in on those because that's the only way you can get those patterns. And so for the pantograph, I gave Susan some choices, and she chose citrine on this one. I did use a white Omni thread, the natural white. And let me show you the backing fabric, and then I'll try to pull in closer to see the pantograph. So this pink print with the bows on it is part of that Lighthearted line, I do believe, because there's some of the same prints in the front. Yeah, so I do believe it's part of that same line, but I will link it below to be sure. So the citrine pantograph, let's see if you can see that. I love this one on here. Again, so many of the pantographs are very similar. It's just a small tweaks that make them different. So how big you do an echo when you're coming out of a swirl, how many feathers you put in there. In this one, the spiral that comes around is very chunky as it comes out. It doesn't come to a point, it doesn't come to a circle. It's very chunky, almost like, I hate to describe it this way, but almost like an earthworm is curled up there. You have the whole, it's a chunkiness to it. And then you have the feather motif, and it's echoed a couple times. And so a little more feathers in this one than swirls, just the one swirl as you're stitching it out. I love this. I think it's playful. You can shrink this down, make it larger. This one I did do a little denser than I've done on some larger quilts, just because this is a baby quilt, a lot smaller, and so I don't want to make it too big. So this is the white thread also. And then there's the background fabric up close. You can see the pantograph on that one. I just think this adds so much playfulness and cheerfulness to this. So cute, so fun. So that is Susan's first quilt, and let's move on to her second one. Susan's second quilt is the Freedom Quilt. This is done by Lissa of Primitive Gatherings. It uses the American Gatherings fabric line. This is available as a kit as well. You can buy the pattern separately so that you can just use your own fabrics. There's not a problem with that at all. If you want to do where you have the red Freedom that's diagonal, I believe the pattern takes like 7 different blue fabrics and then maybe a red one, and I think all of those are just less than a yard. So if you've got stuff in your stash, it does take quite a bit of the background fabric, and this one is done with the Primitive Gatherings line, the American Gatherings line, so it does have the white background with the red and blue stars on top. You obviously could use just a white solid or a white tone on tone, something like this. Wouldn't this be kind of cool too, with a dark background and then doing the letters white with red or red with white? I think it'd be a lot of fun to do this one different ways. This is a large quilt. It's 76 by 90, so a good size. I just think this is so pretty. So it just says Freedom all the way down, but then you do the diagonal in the red and it says Freedom across the diagonal. Let me flip this over so you can see what Susan did to the back. I love the backing that Susan did for this. So she took the letters F-R-E-E for free and did those stacked on top of each other so that they run vertical down the quilt. Then she did add a star, a red star at the top and the bottom. And just pull that in so you can see. Then she did add a red star at the top of the bottom. This is in the same print that she's used on the 2 sides then to add the extra yardage. It's so cute. She really did a nice job, a nice effect for that. And then for the pantograph, I'll just flip it back over to this side. This pantograph is called Easy Clamshell Star, Easy Star Clamshell. I'll link it down below. It's by Barbie Mills of the Quilting Mill. So Baptist fan or almost like it's a Baptist fan, but you can almost kind of think of it as a bunting, but just in the opposite direction. So clamshell, and then with the star in the center of it. I love this. I love this. This is a directional print, meaning that you're going to look at the clamshell in a certain direction, but this quilt also is too, because you're going to read it with the Freedom. So I think that works really well together. Not that you couldn't use this pantograph on a non-directional quilt, but I think when the two work together, it's really fun. The thread on this one is a cream color, the Omni thread. I just love this. So pretty. Now you will notice around the edge I have Susan sent the binding along with it, and for Susan, she likes me to attach it by machine to the front, and then she will do the hand stitching on the back. So that is a service that I can provide if you don't want to. I know this is a lot to wrestle in your domestic machine if you put binding on that way, so that is a service that I offer. I can load it or stitch it to the front and then send it back, and you can do the hand binding on the back side. So very fun. Love this quilt. Just so pretty. So those are Susan's 2 quilts. This is Wanda's quilt, and again, this is a baby quilt, 42 by 42, so cute. The pattern is called Set Sail. That is by Cottage Designs. Now the pattern can also be made in larger sizes. So you're seeing it in the small baby size. You could use this for a wall hanging as well. But it also goes all the way up. Throw size, twin size, believe queen size as well, so you can make this as large or as small as you would like. It is just adorable. So this is being made for a baby though, so I know Wanda's excited to get this to him. The fabric line is Old Glory. That's by Lila Boutique. So the reds and the blues and the grays, a very nautical theme in this Old Glory fabric line. It does have stripes, it has polka dots, some other stars and some others. It's just so pretty. Love the Irish chain effect done with the 9 patches, the 4 patches and the 9 patches. That is so adorable. Each one of the sailboats is different, I believe. No, the two corners, the opposite corners are the same. On Wanda's quilt, she has the opposite corner sailboats are the same, and then the middle one is the different. You have the flags along or flying from the mast. It's so, so cute. And then the backing fabric is the blue star one. So fun. For the pantograph for this one, we used a knit 1, purl 2, and I think this one kind of gives it like the wind is blowing blowing the sailboats in that direction. I did use the white thread, the natural white in Omni. This pantograph, I have it as a digital. Obviously, it does come as the paper pantograph, but I'm having trouble finding it as a digital. And so if anybody knows information about that, if you can let me know how I can link this so that others can find it. It's a fun pantograph to use. I've used it on so many, and I want to be able to pass that on to others. So if you know how that can be purchased, let me know. And so Wanda's quilt is ready to go home. It's so fun. And Linda's quilt is absolutely stunning. Now this one has applique as well as pieced blocks. Even the pieced blocks though are very intricate. I really don't know how this is done. This is done by Laundry Basket Quilts, if you couldn't tell. Very signature style for Adidas Sitar. And the quilt measures 59 by 74. You can purchase this as a pattern, but it also comes as a kit as well. Now on Laundry Basket website, it does say that they'll vary the fabrics depending on what's available at the time. Linda used for hers, she has Perfect Union and Blue Sky, both by Laundry Basket Quilts. I believe Adidas Sitar's current line is Beach House. Same colors, blues. You're just going to have a little bit different prints, but something like that would work just as well. The background fabric is, these are all blocks that are set on point. So, and then there's setting triangles that are done in a different pattern. So the background fabric that you're seeing is a beige with like a brown floral print on top of it, and then the setting triangles that she's used are those same colors, but it's a larger polka dot print. And then there is a small inner border that's a light blue. What's cute about this inner border, this fabric, is it's got just every once in a while you have this gold star just interspersed throughout there, and the large blue floral border around the outer edge. All of this right here is all appliqued, and her applique is incredible. So it looks like she's done needle turn, and her stitches are not visible at all. What really intrigues me are these star blocks. Because they're pieced, it is what it looks like. But these little triangles here, they're almost raised up a bit, but they don't appear to be appliqued. They just really intrigue me. But the circle shape on top is appliqued down, so perhaps I don't know. It just really intrigues me how this is done. I may have to buy the pattern just so I can see how that is put together. But those blocks, all of those star blocks, and that shows up really well on camera, being able to see the difference in fabrics. In close, it isn't quite as noticeable, but there on camera you can really see the polka dots, and then the squares set on point for those star blocks. So pretty. The background fabric is part of the Blue Sky line, I believe. No, this is part of the Cocoa Blue line, and this is called Periwinkle. So a light blue. I like this print. Kind of like lines in there with the light blue. It's a really cute pattern. So for the pantograph, we chose Wave on Wave, and let me see if I can get in here for you to see it. Now, I just showed you Susan's quilts where we had the citrine on there, and I talked about how the different pantographs are very similar, and that one had a lot more feathers on it. It echoed the feathers. It only had one swirl. This is similar, except when you see this spiral comes to a point instead of being the earthworm type shape that I said earlier. So this one comes to a point. It does have a couple, then it has one little feather, and then it goes down to a second swirl, and then it does a feather motif on the back of that spiral. So all the same type of muscle movements if you were doing this hand guided, but you're just adding them together in different elements. Sometimes this one you're putting the point on the end of that spiral. The other one we're leaving it chunky. You could even spin out and do more of a circle shape. And so it just really depends on how you put those motifs together. So this is so pretty. So for this one, did use a cream color thread, if I hadn't mentioned this already. This is the Omni Cream. Very nice work. So pretty. This is just a gorgeous, gorgeous quilt. Linda did a great job on this one. And Diane's quilt is called Aztec Dance. This is a pattern by Tina Dillard of Quilting Affection Designs. She said she used all fabric from her stash. Love the turquoise, the dark, the black in the center of them, and just the different patterns. It's very, very pretty with those turquoise colors. So Diane is a certified instructor of Deb Tucker's Studio 180 design tools. And so she has used those design tools to create this pattern, or to create the quilt. The pattern itself is written using those tools. If you go to the link that takes you to this pattern, it does tell you which tools you need. There are about 3 of them, and they change a little bit depending on the size of quilt that you are making. So you'll want to check that out, which tools you're needing. So Diane is a certified educator for Deb Tucker, and very interesting. I love knowing that. And she said she may be using this as a class sample or teaching the class. So that's exciting. That's really fun to know. So the quilt measures 56 by 56, and the backing fabric on this one, she did use a black. Now these are all from her stash, so I don't have information on the fabrics. For the pantograph, I sent her a couple different choices, and we went with Lake Ridge Puddles. And I think this is so fun. So you've got lots of straight lines on this one. Lots of different angles with this one because you're using the Deb Tucker rulers, and I just like this. This is kind of a circular without being straight circles. It just kind of adds another dimension to this one. We've got lots of turquoise colored fabrics, so maybe that's what inspired me to suggest this Puddles one. Did this one in a medium gray thread. I did audition the very darkest gray that I had, and it's almost a black, and I just felt like this medium gray was dark enough. But you see the circles in there? They look like puddles. I mean, but again, I don't know how this does it because, well, these are spirals, but they're like elongated horizontally a little bit, but it almost gives like a 3D effect. I don't know. It almost looks like those puddles are like going away from you. It's just so cool. So it just looks like puddles, like raindrops on the ground, the ripple effect in a water or something like that. So pretty. And I did shrink the rows in this so that they just overlap just a tad bit, so that you're kind of getting those water. You know how you would have puddles on the ground where they would kind of be hitting into each other a little bit, and so I did that just a tad, not super overlap, but just a little bit so that they kind of look like they're running into each other some. So pretty. Diane did a nice job on this. So fun. And you can see the so I did use pre-wound bobbins on the back. I used the darkest gray that I have. It matches that medium gray on the front. And with the dark color of fabric, you're really just seeing the texture. I mean, you get in close, you can see the colors, but really nice. Love this. Diane did a great job. So this is Joy's quilt, and she says she plans on using this when she sits out on her front porch this fall in the cool weather. How pretty is this? The pattern is called Windblown. That is by Christine Quilts. She did use a Moda solid called Midnight for the backing or background fabric, and then for all of the leaves themselves she used Stonehenge gradations, the oxidized copper. And so I love this. I love the fall feel. It's a great use of these fabrics, of the Stonehenge, the coppery colors, some blues in there, a little bit more of orangey over here. The leaves are all different sizes, so it feels like they're falling down all around you. It's really, really pretty. She did say that she also used Studio 180 Deb Tucker rulers for this pattern, and really fun, really great job. The backing fabric, let's talk about this. So she said she bought let me fix this and I'll be right back. So Joy said she bought a Stonehenge Ombre 108-inch wide backing. So with an Ombre, it goes from dark to light and then back to dark. Now the size of her quilt is 76, just 70 inches long. And so the wide back was 108 inches long. So she said she actually cut out some of the middle part where it was the lightest because she wanted the darker color. So she said it kind of defeated the purpose of buying a wide back because she took out the middle part. But the middle was just a little lighter than she wanted, and she really wanted the dark on the top and the bottom. So I think she did a great job. You don't even see. Can you see? You can't even see the seam. It's really because that ombre is going from one to the other. So she just took out that middle lightest part, and that's a great job. Great thinking on her part, wanting those darker colors. So again, this is a Stonehenge as well in that same oxidized line. She says this is Solstice Ombre Oxidized 108-inch wide. Really fun. For the pantograph on this one, she wanted Harbor Wave. So Harbor Wave makes you think of water, but water and wind are very similar. So this one did this fairly large because the repeats, the echoing of it were so many. She didn't want them too close together. So these are probably about an inch apart. So it comes in, does a nice big swirl. You can see here, I don't know if you can see that. It's got a big circle. So it's coming in doing a spiral just like we've seen on a couple of the others, but when it comes in, it just barely does a point and then it spins way back out so that you're getting a nice round circle right there at that point. But then it's going back, coming back, echoing that same spiral again and going back, does a little bit of a paisley or a feather type look, and then it goes back the other way and does a huge spiral. So by doing the back and forth and coming back and echoing it again is when you get those echo lines that really feel like the wind moving instead of just a spiral that's spinning a couple times on itself and spinning back out. This one you're coming in doing one point, going back out, and then echoing that same thing again. And then it spins out, does a little paisley going this direction, and then comes in, does a spiral, spins out, does a paisley, and then does the spiral. So one spiral up, and then a paisley, one spiral down, and then the paisley going down, and then that's how it's continuing across the line. So the motif itself, it's probably, wow, this may be 10, 12 inches tall. It's about this big, but there are so many echo lines that it really fills in with texture because those echo lines are about an inch apart. The thread on this one, I did use the medium gray thread just like I did on that Aztec quilt, a medium gray with all the dark background. So you do see it on some of the leaf prints, but it has that feel of a fall, little cloudy, overcast, kind of like what we have today. Cloudy, overcast, just the leaves blowing through the sky, and so the darker thread really adds to the whole theme of that quilt. And so that's medium gray on the front, and then the dark gray Magna Glide bobbins on the back. I have gotten lots of questions lately about threads, what threads I use, what bobbins I use. I will answer all those questions when I do my Q&A here in a couple weeks. So if you have questions for me that you are just dying to know, whether it's about long arm quilting, whether it's about quilting itself, whether it's about my family, my business, whatever, you can send those to me either as comments in the YouTube video or in an email to me. I'll compile all those questions, kind of group them by categories and see what questions are most common among you, and then I will be answering those in one large video. So that's Joy's quilt. So I hope you enjoyed those customer quilts. So many beautiful quilts come through this studio, and I feel so honored. Oh, sorry about that. I feel so honored that you allow me to work on your quilts for you, and we make a good team. You do the piecing and I'll do the quilting, and it's just an honor to have your trust and have you send those to me. I just so enjoy. Everything is so beautiful. You are very, very talented. So I will be back here next week with another video, because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you then.